Today I want to talk to you guys about equivalent ratios. A ratio is just a fancy way to say that you're comparing two numbers. Most of you have seen ratios that look like this, but you can also write a ratio as a fraction, and I think that's a little more familiar to us. So if you see the ratio 1 to 4, you can also write it like this. 1/4. And I have a little visual on the side. If we have 4 parts and one of them is shaded, that represents 1/4. And they want us to solve for x. Find that x. What is going to be equivalent? An equivalent ratio means they're equal. So if I have x divided by 12, and then I'm asking how many parts am I going to have to shade to have it be equal to the other visual that I have here. Well, if you can see, if I just kind of ignore those horizontal lines on this second visual, then it still is broken up into 4 parts. And if I shade the same amount of space as I shaded on the other visual, then now you can see that there are 3 shaded out of 12. So x is equal to 3. But if you don't want to draw pictures, you can also do this and say, well, 4 times what number is going to give us 12? 4 times 3 is equal to 12. So then you need to multiply the numerator by the same number. 1 times 3, that will give us 3. So we know that x equals 3. Okay, you can also solve this using cross multiplication. So if I have 1/4 equals x divided by 12, I can cross multiply and get 4 times x is 4x. 1 times 12 is 12, because you know I love my equations. So now I get to solve an equation. If x is being multiplied by 4, then I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And the 4 divided by 4 becomes a 1. 1x equals, and 12 divided by 4 is 3, but we already knew that, right? And you don't have to set up the ratio, the fractions, like I did. You could say, you know what, let me actually show you on the next one. Okay, so the next example, 4 over 3 is equal to 8 over x. And some of you are probably doing that mental math in your head. 4 times 2 is 8. So 3 times 2 is going to give us 6. See, this one's kind of easy to figure out, but I'm also going to write it a different way. I could say, I could put this number over this number instead. So 4 over 8 is equal to 3 over x. 3 over x. And let's do some cross multiplication and see what we get. 8 times 3 is 24. 4 times x is 4x. So now I have 4 times x equals 24. They're multiplying the x by 4. Therefore, I am going to divide by 4. And if I divide both sides by 4, x equals 6, which is exactly what all of you who did the mental math up here should have got. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 2 is 6. All right. Why would you use cross multiplication? Why would I do all this down here if it's, way easier to just think about, do it this way and think about the number that you can multiply both the numerator and the denominator by? Well, sometimes it's not as obvious. So looking at this next one, 2 out of 5 is equal to 11 out of what? So if I do this, if I write 2/5 equals 11 over x, some of my students might not be able to give me that number. 2 times what number is going to give me 11? So you don't have to know it. You can do cross multiplication. 5 times 11 is 55. 2 times x is 2x. And now we just solve the equation. They're multiplying by 2. Therefore, I am going to divide by 2. And x equals 27.5. All right, 27.5. That's an ugly 5, but it still works. And if you could figure that out in the beginning, 2 times 5.5 would give you 11, and then you would do 5 times 5.5, and that would give you the 27.5. So I was doing some slopes with my students earlier, And one of my students was saying, "Hey, Compost, I got 3. No, what did she get? Something like 6/8. The rise was 6 and the run was 8. And she finally is starting to understand rise over run and the slope. But she put this into her assignment and it wasn't saying it was correct. Why wasn't this correct?" And I said, "Oh, you have to reduce your fraction. After you find the slope, reduce your fraction." And it's funny because my 4th grade daughter is working on reducing fractions right now. So I called her over and I was all excited. I said, look, I want to show you that what you do in 4th grade math builds on itself. If that's one thing that I can urge you guys to never give up, never just say, I don't really understand it, so I'm not going to pay attention and I'll learn something new in a few weeks. It's going to come back. So if you don't understand something, ask for help. Ask your teacher to clarify because it will come back. Math is, it's like building blocks, okay? If you don't have that strong foundation, you are not going to do well later on. So when you divide both of these by 2, you get 3/4, 3/4. So that is a skill we're learning, you learn in elementary that will come back to you when you're finding the slope of a line and even more often than that. But I just love when I can make those connections, especially, with my own children. So I hope you guys are having an awesome, awesome Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Stay